Hey, ladies and gentlemen, Shay Douglas here from Earth Heroes TV, and I'm absolutely blessed with the presence of Dr. Espen Wold-Jensen from Dr. ETV, the Conscious Enterprise Retreat, the Quantum Experience, Quantum Advance. This man is operating at a whole nother level, a whole nother frequency and vibration with the work that he does. So really grateful for your time, Dr. Espen. Thanks for joining me.
Privilege, man. I'm excited for this conversation.
This is going to be a great chat, and guys, I really highly recommend staying around for the whole conversation because Dr. Espen is going to really give us an insight into what it actually takes to be able to perform at such a high level and to be able to serve humanity in a bigger way so that we can have more of an impact in the world right now, particularly when we need it most. I'm sure you can all agree with me that we're moving through some massive shifts in this planet. And just to give you a little bit of a background of Dr. Espen's story on a physical level, you know, he's been a black belt martial artist, a fitness figure, fifth in America. He's gone from 2 broken legs. Imagine this, breaking both your legs, 2 legs, and then going on to win the Ninja Warrior, or going to be a finalist, excuse me. So to be able to overcome some of these challenges and adversities and be able to go through hardship, but break through a veil, break through a portal and come out the other side to realize and lift the ceiling of potential to a whole nother level. This is a really exciting conversation. And big key in this chat is that what I've found so potent in the sharing of Dr. Espen is that it's not just on a physical level. In fact, it is so much more. He's gone on to be able to perform really high elite levels in all areas of life. We can recognize there's different dimensions to being a human, and Espen has expanded those potentials in each area. So really excited for this conversation. Let's just start out, Espen, I guess, with your you know, on the physical aspect. Obviously, you've been able to achieve some phenomenal things just as a human being with your physical capacity. And I know yoga and Qigong is a big part of that for you. However, what does it take to, on a daily basis, to build up the consistency to be able to do some of the tremendous things that you've been able to do in that physical area of life?
It's a great place to start, bro. Thanks for asking. Firstly, I wish for everyone to now feel into where you feel and believe that you are in terms of your physical health. Imagine that 0 is death and 100 is as healthy as you could ever physically be, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, vibrationally, etc. If you just put a mark on it, where do you believe you are right now? Some people would say, you know, 30, 40, some people would say 70, 80. The bottom line is just it's a guessing game. You know, most people have never actually done all the tests necessary to be able to assimilate where they are in terms of their biological age. So what I did when I was 22, as a qualified nutritionist, I was a personal trainer, qualified teacher, before I continued my studies in, you know, overall 6.5 years of education at the university level. I devoted myself to being able to test and measure how I could improve my energy, frequency, vibration, and physical health through time. So I decided to be healthier and fitter and experience life with more health and homeostasis and well-being as I continue to age. So the first thing was a decision and a choice. Let's put it this way. I'm 40 now, and when I made this decision when I was 22, I'm way more healthy and way more fitter now on a physical level than I was when I was 22. Having said that, I'm going to be way healthier when I'm 80 than when I am now, because I'm still working through so many injuries, be that physical traumas. A lot of it for me, which we'll get to a little bit later, was the emotional traumas and then the mental conditioning, etc. So on a physical level, it comes down to a couple of things. The first thing is you got to make a decision. My decision is I'm going to be healthier and have a better homeostasis, better quality of life, better all of the above as I age. That is my decision. Okay. And the reason for that decision is because, well, look at it this way. The body, the physical vessel, is the only place your spirit gets to live. And as we age, what you so often see, and I saw this in clinic as a primary healthcare physician, you know, as we had medical doctors working in our clinics, we had chiropractors, we had physios, we had naturopaths, we had yoga teachers, dentists, Pilates, like everything in one-stop shop, right? And so as we worked with our different patients across the different clinics, what we were discovering is that most people thought they were pretty okay and healthy, but they had no idea of measuring. I'll give you an example. If you look at a person that has a symptom, I'll take, God bless her soul, my beautiful mum. When she got diagnosed with cancer, this was 16 and a half years ago now. She had that cancer for 15 years before the diagnosis was there. When it was discovered, it was a 15 by 15 centimeter tumor pressing against her heart in her lungs. And so the question when it comes to physical health is, does the absence of symptoms, if you don't have any symptoms, if you don't feel sick, does that mean that you are healthy? And the answer, unfortunately, Shay, is no, because you can have heart disease, cancer, and diabetes all at the same time. They're the three leading causes of death. Well, there's one up and coming, which is overdoing that, but that's a different conversation for another time. But rather, what we're experiencing is, say heart disease, cancer, diabetes, chronic disease, they have no symptoms in the beginning. And so the absence of symptoms, not feeling sick, does not mean that we are healthy. So how do we know? Well, for me as a researcher, it's all about data. I want to measure. So I get my blood tests done every 6 months. Okay, and that might be a bit extreme for some, but for elite athletes, that's probably not enough. I get my blood tests done, a full panel every 6 months, vitamins, minerals, hormones, essential fatty acids. Everything that's important is tested and measured. I go to my naturopaths regularly to do all the other tests: hair, stool, saliva, blood. What are my heavy metals in the body? What's the bacteria in my gut? And so I test. Okay. So the first is the decision as to making your body healthier and more vibrant over time is my decision. Not just avoiding sickness and disease, but optimizing the performance of the human frame on a regular basis, on the cellular level. Reversing aging. My biological age is significantly lower than my chronological age, and I keep measuring this because I want to be, at peak performance my whole life. So it's a decision. Then is tests and measure. I go to my chiropractors regularly, my healers, emotional healers, spiritual healers on a regular basis. Why? Because, well, I know that a healthy spine means a healthy life. So I've made the decision, I've done the tests, and now I place myself into, and this is very important, a regular system of accountability. Okay? Because when I know I'm going to see my chiropractor Tuesday at 8 a.m., and then I'm going to do an hour and a half of hot yoga after that, well, I've booked in the appointment. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to then follow through on yoga after that. So basically, I have personal trainers and accountability partners and coaches and mentors, physicians and people in my life that'll help me stay on this path of optimizing physical health. And of course, then we can talk about habits, and it's, such as how I start my day. I always start my day with water. This is clean water, not tap water. I have minerals in my water. I have salt in my water. Because I've done my blood test and I know what I need. And of course, I drink my tea and so on and so forth. So there are many, many aspects to this. And I teach a lot of this. In fact, the majority of this in what I call the Accelerator program, which is a 4-month life coaching program where I basically help people create these habits and dive deeper into what it is. So the first aspect of health is really, really important.
Beautiful. Yeah, well said. I love how your perspective and commitment to actually, as you age, you're appreciating health more and you're creating this longevity, which is, huge key to our lives. Like if we really love the life that we live, we very likely we want it to extend and continue and be these infinite beings and of our potential, which is a beautiful approach, because most people have this mindset that as we age, we dry up and we get old and we become frail and we lose our strength. But turning that on its head is huge, particularly when we were finding ourselves in a world that is full of toxins, even in the water, as you mentioned, the tap water, or even in the air. A lot of chemicals being sprayed on our food if it's non-organic and so forth. And something that you guys do extremely well, I find, in the quantum advanced experience, which I highly recommend people to dive deep into, not just once, but again, like frequently, checking in all the times, because there's a heavy emphasis on how emotions really impact our lives. And this is something that you guys do so well and take students through in the quantum advanced experience, where we can really look at what are the suppressed emotions that are causing us to be depressed in our lives. And so what how do you navigate and to develop a resiliency for emotional intelligence? What are some of the practices and habits that you introduce on a daily basis to be able to overcome, sometimes those tougher emotions like guilt and shame and so forth?
Bro, I love how you went from physical to emotional, because you're just working your way up the centers, up the energy centers. So that's spot on. So it's excellent work. Honestly, this has been the greatest challenge. When I grew up, my brother died when I was 5. My sister was born disabled. I helped raise a disabled sister. My mum was, God bless her soul, an alcoholic. She couldn't deal with the loss of her son without, drinking and escaping. And so there was a lot of abuse and a lot of emotional trauma over an extended periods of almost 2 decades. And so I was very, very strong in the mind. I was very, very strong in the body. Like I said, kickboxing champion and all these sort of things. But that was a bit of a shell or a compensation, because emotionally I was impeccably weak. I was not emotionally conscious or available at all. And so I had to push those emotions down as I was growing up. And so when I got a little bit older, when I started coming to Australia and diving deep into my, now almost 20 years of personal development, I started really looking at these things called emotions. Now, I want to point some things out. Point number one, and this is very important. Point number one, the quality of your life, how you perceive the quality of your life, is in direct proportion to the emotions you feel the majority of the time. Okay, so when people say, how do I get a better quality of life? You got to look at your emotions first. Because if I feel that, if I feel procrastination, hesitation, frustration, desperation, and depression, if I feel sadness, guilt, fear, anger, frustration, stress as my most commonly felt emotions, then my quality of life is going to be low. If I feel love, presence, joy, enthusiasm, certainty, gratitude, whatever, then I perceive my quality of life to be high. So what is the first step in my philosophy to increase quality of life? You've got to look at your emotions. Okay, point number one. Point number two is this. Shay, let's take you as an example, right? Let's say you've had now I know you're really good at this. It's probably not a good example, but let's say in general, let's say you had a really tough week. Okay, you come home, you've had a terrible week, lots of stress at work, stress in relationship, shit's happened, right? And let's say, hypothetically speaking, like it is for many, that you reach for some sugar, okay, some processed foods, or maybe it's a glass of wine, or maybe it's something else. That escape mechanism, if a person has that escape mechanism, do you think it would be fair to say that they don't reach for the sugar or scrolling endlessly on social media or drinking alcohol or whatever the escape might be? Do you think it would be fair to say that the person doesn't do that because they want to harm themselves, but rather they do it because of how they feel, and that stimulus is going to make them feel better? Do you think that would be fair to say? Yep. You're on mute.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And so I don't want to point this out for everybody. Very often, my dear friends, the addictions and the stimulus and the escape that we are experiencing in life, the things that we do that we're not proud of, that we'd like to quit, they're normally not the problem. It's normally how you feel on the inside. That's the problem. And so when I come home from work and I feel stressed and I reach for that glass of wine, or I eat that, processed food with lots of sugar, it's not because I'm mean to me. It's because I want to feel better. So again, you got to remember that those habits that you have that are affecting your physical health, overweight, underweight, too stressed, not enough, your skin's not working out properly, whatever, it's the problem, right? Because of the way we're eating, the way we're living, the way we're escaping, those habits, they often come from feelings. So it's kind of like the way we feed ourselves when we're unhealthy is the symptom, but the cause underlying is a lower frequency based emotion, and normally a distractive or destructive or reactive or even negative type base of emotion. So this is really important to comprehend, because then if I want to master my choices, if I want to master my actions, if I want to master my habits, the first step is to work on your emotions, to heal your emotional wounds. Now, as you mentioned so beautifully, we do that in the 3-day quantum advance. We spend a whole 3 days from 7 in the morning to 7 at night every day, really going back in time to find the blockages, the traumas, the indoctrinations, the emotions, the limiting beliefs and the fears that are holding us back by creating these emotions. And we actually go into each of those dark points or unconscious habits, if you will, and we heal it from fear to love. We give ourselves the opportunity to heal the fear, the guilt, the shame. We were bullied back then. We were ridiculed back then. Someone broke our heart back then, and we can actually sit with it and transform it once and for all. So this has been the greatest healing. And so I said before, I'm way healthier now at 40 than I was at 22. And when you take into mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, chemical, all of the above, the greatest growth for me, the greatest healing for me has been the emotional healing, because it literally spreads out and affects every single area of life. Because again, the quality of how we feel is the quality of our perceived life as well.
Yeah, that is huge. And thanks for sharing that, particularly the personal, intimate stories of your upbringing as well, and having such a level of, humility to have that self-honesty, to look at the past of our own lives and have that deeper self-inquiry, to then even accept that, having these mechanisms that or substances on the external level that we're using to be able to manage or deal with the certain challenges going on in our lives, but instead choosing to go deeper into the root cause of what it is that is actually making us feel in this way and healing it from the inside out. It's a beautiful alchemical process that you take people on, and you're the living, breathing example of that. I'd really love to dive a little bit deeper into that piece on healing the metaphysical element, and something that you touch on in terms of looking at how energy and the spiritual element of our lives, which is non-physical, tangible, so something that we can't quite comprehend at times because we can't see it, but there has to be this level of trust that exists for us to be able to break through and go through those depths. And that's something that I've experienced in the breath work that you teach as an example, that takes a whole new meaning of life by having the experience, and through the feeling of it, it just ultimately transcends all of the physical bodily elements. And so I'm curious how you do this so well and integrate it into the experiences, but then grounding it in for the students to have something that they can take away with them to practice daily. So the question ultimately that I wanted to ask, particularly around spiritual practices, why is it so important to practice them every single day? And what do you do to practice daily that enables your spirit to thrive in the world?
Oh, beautiful question, bro. I'm in the process of writing a book at the moment, and the book specifically is, I guess, in my philosophy, the ultimate secret to peak performance. If you're an athlete, if you want to be a gold medalist, that's the secret. If you're a mother, you want to be the best mother in the world, best father in the world, this is the secret. You wish to be the best business person, entrepreneur, soulpreneur, paradigm shifter, thought leader in the world, that's the secret. And it really, again, comes down to the asset of all assets. Through science, since over 100 years ago, when Max Planck founded quantum theory, it's been scientifically proven that we're made up of less than 1% physical and 99% pure energy. That is non-physical energy. Call it space, call it energy, frequency, vibration. As you said, difficult to practice there, to live there, to be conscious of that on a daily basis, because, well, look, I've got two hands, I'm speaking to a physical Shay, it looks physical. And to some degree, in 1%, it is physical. But the asset of all assets, the secret of all secrets, is energy. Now, that's well and true knowing, that's good to know, but useless unless it is practiced. And so, as you mentioned, in the 3-day quantum advance, people liberate their energy. They're stuck issues in the tissues. Fear is turned to fuel. We liberate ourselves. And then once the energy is moving again, we then can start to practice habits and build it into a life by conscious design. But when I'm writing this book, I'm reminded of everything is energy. Let's be clear. Time is energy. The body, physical, is energy. The non-physical, 99.9% of you is also energy, because there is energy, frequency, and vibration within the quantum field, within the space, within consciousness. And of course, money is energy. Relationships is energy, and everything is energy. So if you wish to be a master of your life, you have to master energy. Now, within this concept of the spiritual aspect of a practice, I consider myself to be quite a masculine guy, not just masculine in its essence of being a man, but masculine in the essence of energy. I'm high energy. I can do a lot of things. I can perform at a very high level. I can do stuff in a week that could take other people a year, be it physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever. So with a very active mind, in my language, comes a non-negotiable, deep-seated practice of stillness. Because if I don't have a practice of stillness, there is going to be noise. For other people, it might be very naturally still in their beingness. And for them, it might be action, repetitive action. And so it's different for every person. But for me, when I did a 3-month research project on this, where I was the test subject, where I ate unhealthy, engaged in unhealthy activities, engaged in unhealthy relationships, unhealthy thoughts and emotions for a period of 12 weeks. Now, I can tell you, brother, I was depressed, sad, angry, frustrated. I smelled bad. I felt bad, and so on and so forth. So for me, if I have eating healthy, thinking well, moving well, living well over here, and unhealthy over here, for me, it's just a non-negotiable, because I know what I feel like and what the quality of my life is like when I eat unhealthy, and when I don't think well, and when I don't engage in my spiritual practices. And because I've done the test, I have also found balance. Yes, I eat clean Monday to Friday. I intermittent fast. I eat almost only organic. I'm very clear with how I take care of my practices. But then sometimes from Friday to Sunday, I might have a pizza. If I feel like a beer on a rare occasion, I might have a beer. And so I'm not recommending these, but I'm recommending balance. Okay. The spiritual practice, if you ask me what is the asset of all assets, it's energy. And so when I'm writing this book, the final chapter is going to be a conversation with the Creator. Think about this. Since we know that everything is energy, since we know that the number one law of all 12 universal laws is the law of oneness, and there is a creator spirit, call it source, call it universe. If you want to be specific, scientific, call it the quantum field or the unified field, call it ether. I refer to it as the creator, if you will, the great spirit. Imagine if there is a creator spirit that is within all things, which we know there is a field of intelligence within all things, physical, non-physical, everything has intelligence, and everything is a part of the one. Then if you wish to be a peak performing athlete, the best mother, best father, best entrepreneur, best whatever in the world, and maybe even you just want to be great at you being you for the sake of your family, then how do you think you could get there without an ongoing conscious connection and conversation with the Creator? If everything comes from source, what is your relationship to source? What is your relationship to untapped pure quantum potential, to the quantum field? So my spiritual practice is a non-negotiable devotion. And that is not perfect, far from perfect. God knows I make a lot of mistakes. But Shay, here's the key. If I study the curve over time, from 20 years of age to 30 to where I'm now at 40, I can see that the curve is an exponential curve of improvement. Improvement in physical health, mental, emotional, financial, relationships, time, energy, personal development. The curve is this way. As long as the curve is this way, as long as I'm improving, getting more humble, more conscious, more grounded, more spiritual, more silent in my mind, more cleaner with my body, more cleaner with my thoughts and actions, then the trajectory is 2 thumbs up. However, if I'm clearly going that way, well, then I know what the future is going to look like. There is no guessing here. Okay, I'm clearly aware. And so within the physical practice of things, one, I have to remember who I am and where I'm from. You know, I'm a star seed. I'm from the stars. I'm from source. You know, I say, hi, you know, what's your name? You know, person says, my name is Frank. And I say, you know, in this life, they call me Espen, but I am source. You know, you ask someone, where are you from? Well, I'm from Norway. Well, I'm not from Norway. I'm from that which has always been and will always be. In this life, I was born in Norway. So it's kind of like we've got to take it to that next level and remember who we are and where we're from. And then to have a practice that is tailored to the individual. Shay, you love yoga, breathwork, movement. Great. Someone else might love surfing, but their spiritual practice might be surfing and then 20 minutes of silence on the beach listening to the ocean. That is their relationship to source. And perhaps conversation with the creator, which should be, I believe, verbal also, but maybe it is surfing. And so it's about finding these different practices relevant to each individual so that we can feel like we're connected to something greater, be it nature, be it God, be it source, be it yoga, be it breath, that enables us to have an equilibration and homeostasis of any energy interference. By that, I mean coming back to doing what you're loving and remembering that you are remarkable as a unique expression of source consciousness.
Wow, that's magnificent. Absolutely powerful, guys. I hope you're those who are listening and tuning in for this conversation, taking some notes and really reflecting on, pardon me, on your own journey with this, because what Espen is sharing is something that is within all of us. And oftentimes it's easy to forget, you know, our own role and our purpose and our intention with connecting to this higher source when we're guided by something that has unlimited intelligence. It's hard for us to comprehend in the physical being that there is that access to all knowing, all information, all wisdom. But what Espen is sharing and what I'm taking away from this myself is that we have the potential to tap into that access. And it's simply a choice to commitment, to devoting, to holding ourselves and our friends and those around us accountable. And that's a powerful, powerful place to be, in a sense of omnipotence, which is unlimited power. And sometimes what I notice in myself that is a limit for me is that I have this perception that power can be bad and negative because it has potentially, what I see in the world sometimes, been used for personal gain, when the reality is it's not the power that is the negative, but how the power is used. So if someone has omnipotence, then they have this potential to have a thought and instantly manifest it into creation. And that is a beautiful thing that even when you're saying and speaking to how you're such a high functioning, high performing being, that you're able to do things within a day or a week that many people can't even comprehend to do within a year or 10 years. That is omnipotence, being able to imagine something, pull it out of the ether, bring it through the body, express it in physical form, like your business, for example, as a phenomenal example of that, what you guys are able to achieve and what you're able to do in the lives that you're able to transform. That's a phenomenal recognition of this potential of creator spirit expressing itself in this unified way that is in coherence. And through the events, it's like, if anyone's ever been to one, you'll know what it's like. The energy that's in the room is just palpable so much that it just burst out of people's, you know, heart center. It's just magnificent. It's wonderful. And so for my final question for you, Dr. Espen, I really want to explore what it is that you would share. I know this is something that, being the producer of the Dr. ETV channel, I love how you ask this question to all of your all of your guests that you have on the show. And I highly recommend, for those who are listening into this episode, go back through and listen to Dr. ETV and all the phenomenal guests that are on there. Some great content and amazing speakers and healers and coaches and leaders of our time. What is it, if you had 60 seconds to share a message with the world, what is it that you would drop into and share?
For everyone listening and feeling into what I'm sharing right now, if you just take a moment to feel your heart beating, maybe even put your hands on your heart. And it beats. Dum, 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 dum. It beats for you. It beats for you because you were worthy enough, loved enough, and important enough to be blessed with the gift of life. If you look within, you know well that you are not just physical flesh and bone and matter. You are something more, spirit, soul, source, consciousness, something more expressed in physical form. You are alive, listening, feeling, and breathing with what I'm expressing right now for a very specific reason. We are all connected through a field of intelligence, yet we are here as unique beings to give, share our gifts to the world. If you are born in this time, in the time perhaps of the Great Awakening, that you are here for a reason. Learn to fall in love with the way you show up in the world, because as a flower, you are born to bloom. As an infinite star, you are created to shine. And when you recognize that you are the hero that you've been waiting for as a unique expression, then yes, give credit where credit's due to the creator, but also know that you have creation in you. So go out, fall in love with your life, fall in love with the world, and make this world a better place, because you are just at the tip of that transformation. And in fact, maybe the tip or the top is just the bottom of your potential. So go out and shine, because that's what you're born to do.
So beautiful and powerful. Thank you so much, Dr. Espen, for your time and sharing your wisdom and sharing this wonderful opportunity that we all have to be inspired in our lives. And I'm super grateful for all the work that you do in the world, and absolutely blessed and honored to be your brother and walk side by side in the transformational time on this planet. So big love to you, brother, and look forward to the next amazing event coming up. The Quantum Advance on the Gold Coast is going to be a phenomenal experience. Highly recommend to get yourself there if you're available and you're around. And yeah, really look forward to seeing you soon.
That's awesome. Yeah, for those interested, go to drespen.com/QA for Quantum Advanced. Have a look, give us a call if you have any questions. I want to thank you, Shay, because you're an absolute bro in what you're doing for the world with Earth Heroes TV. Guys, look up Earth Heroes TV and what we're doing. Dr. ETV is one of the channels within this magnificent platform. And it's exciting. Shay and I are working on the quantum documentary, the promo of it at the moment, showcasing what it means to understand the quantum field and how to become more of a master in energy in all the 8 areas of life. So I'm pumped to put this thing together at the next 3 days, mate. And as I always say, I love you so much, and I'm so grateful for your time. Thank you for guiding us again today.
Thanks, brother. Big love, man. See you guys soon.
Bye-bye.